In today's vinyasa, I invite you to join me as we take a journey to Gandha Barundasana, a chin stand. And if you are still working on this pose or you don't quite feel ready for it, then I'm offering you a series of variations to help you build the strength and the body control necessary for this maneuver, so that when you do feel ready to cross this bridge, that you are equipped to do so. The rest of our vinyasa will be relatively fast-paced, with a series of hip openers and splits towards the end. So if you are ready to join me, then let's begin our pilgrimage. Today we're beginning our practice by coming to the top of the mat, rooting the feet down into the earth, rolling the shoulders away from the ears, and focusing on flattening the upper portion of your back, the thoracic region of the spine, as you establish a sense of strength in your posture, a quiet confidence that radiates through your body, bringing hands to heart center, and taking a moment to fully arrive at the practice today. And as we establish the foundation of our breath, we're bringing one hand to our belly and the other to our heart, coming into Ujjayi Pranayama, remembering that the way we breathe today will strengthen every pose we enter. As you inhale through the nose, I want you to imagine first filling up your belly with breath, then letting your chest rise secondarily as you fully inhale, suspending the breath just for a second or two. And then as you exhale, feel the sensation in the back of your throat of fogging up a mirror. Continue following this breath pattern, breathing in and out through the nose, feeling the breath along the back of your throat, taking this moment before we begin to set the tone of the energy that we bring to our practice, establishing a sense of solidarity within ourselves. And as we continue to build a foundation of our breath, before we come into our vinyasa, we're coming into a second position. Heels come to the outside of the mat, taking the opportunity to externally rotate both the hips and the feet. And taking a demi-plie now, bringing the arms into first position, and as you stretch, arms come into second. Inhale, demi-plie, arms come into lower fifth. As you stretch, exhaling, arms come into first and then out to second once more. Now taking a grand plie on an inhale, and as you exhale, in a controlled gesture, coming into first position with the arms and then opening into second once again. Taking a slight stretch to the right on the next inhale, and as you exhale, taking a side stretch, a port de bras, over to the left, rooting the right heel into the earth. And on the next breath, coming back to center, arms come into first, opening back up into second, reaching slightly over to the left, and then taking your port de bras over to the right. Right arm sweeps underneath you, rooting the left heel into the earth. And on the next breath, coming back to center, arms come into first, opening back into second. Taking a nice big inhale, and as you exhale, we're coming back into a grand plie. Hands come into lower fifth, but instead of coming up this time, we're going to anchor our hands to the insides of the thighs, coming into a spinal twist by bringing the left shoulder down and toward the center, keeping the left elbow straight and feeling the stretch in the back. On the next breath, coming to the other side, keeping the left elbow bent this time, right elbow straight, bringing the right shoulder down to the center. And on the next breath, one more time on each side, bringing the left shoulder down toward the center of the mat this time. Following your breath, coming back onto the right shoulder comes toward the center of the mat. And on your next breath, we're releasing the twist and coming into a forward fold, bringing the toes toward the front of the mat, releasing the external rotation of the hips. And on an inhale, flattening the back, looking forward, and exhaling, coming into a deeper forward fold. Really releasing the spine and feeling some space opening up in between the vertebrae. Feeling a release in your lower back. And as we warm up the neck here, we're nodding back and forth, shaking the head left and right. Taking another inhale on a flat back, looking forward. Exhaling, forward fold. Once more, waving forward, inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward fold. And as we continue to allow the spine to decompress, we're taking a stretch over to the right foot, keeping the right toes pointed toward the top of the mat in a neutral rotation at first. Now bringing the hips into an external rotation, toes pointing to the side, nose comes to your knee. Bringing the hips back into neutral rotation again before you come back to center. Taking a flat back, inhale, waving forward. Exhale, forward fold. Coming onto the left side, keeping the left toes in a neutral rotation at first as you feel the stretch through the left leg and the left hip. And then following the rhythm of your breath, opening the left hip, pointing the toes outward and bringing the nose to the left knee. And then bringing the left hip back into a neutral rotation, toes pointed toward the top of the mat once more. Feeling the difference in the stretch here, and then coming back to center. Flat back, extending the spine, getting a little more latitude between the vertebrae. And exhaling, forward fold. As we transition now into a standing forward fold, we're coming heel toe, bringing the feet under the hips, waving forward with a flat back, extending the spine, and then exhaling, forward fold, clasping opposite elbows with each hand and coming into a ragdoll. Taking a deep bend in through the knees, coming into the moment, taking this opportunity to consciously release anything that is no longer in service to your highest good. And on the next breath, we're rolling to a standing position, one vertebrae at a time. Reaching toward the sky, and then on an exhale, bringing your hands to heart center. Following the rhythm of your breath, and on the next inhale, reaching back toward the sky, slight back bend, opening the chest, cactusing the arms out wide, and then sweeping the arms down as you come into a forward fold. On the next inhale, reaching forward, flat back, and exhaling, forward fold. Planting the hands firmly on the mat, and as you inhale, floating back into Chaturanga Dandasana, inhaling into upward facing dog. And as you exhale, we're rolling over the toes if that's within your practice and coming into a downward facing dog. Walking out the dog here, bending one knee at a time, feeling the stretch all the way through the hips and the back as you bring a little bit more movement to the spine and the legs. Always remembering to keep your weight distributed evenly throughout all of your joints, not dumping too much weight into those wrists. And as you continue to develop that rapport with your breath, we're coming into these spinal rolls. On the inhale, coming up onto the toes, flirting with the idea of coming into a plank, but at the last second, coming back into your downward facing dog, arching the back. Inhaling once again, looking toward your belly button, and as you exhale, almost coming into that plank, arching back into downward facing dog. One more time, rounding the spine, exhaling, arching the back into downward facing dog. And as we find our way into a three-legged dog on the right side, we're bringing the left foot to the center of the mat. But we're finding this three-legged dog through what I call a crisscross développé, first bringing the right knee in toward the midline, keeping the hips neutral, and then with the toes pointed, traveling up the inside of the left leg with the right toes, and then extending through a passe into a second position, keeping the hips in an external rotation before you bring them back into a neutral rotation. Right knee points back toward the floor, coming into your crisscross, and then opening back into second position. Finding a rhythm with your breath here as you flow in a dancer-like pattern through this gesture. And coming onto the left side, bringing the right foot to the center of the mat, and then crossing the left knee in toward the midline, keeping the left toes pointed toward the right ankle, traveling up the inside of the right leg with the left toes, and then extending into that second position, keeping the hips at first externally rotated, and then as you travel back into that crisscross, continue to follow this momentum here, squaring the hips back to the mat, coming into a neutral rotation, and then bringing the left knee back toward the floor, toward the center, crisscrossing the left ankle over the right, and then unfolding once again into a second position. And on the next breath, bringing the left foot back toward the mat, downward facing dog. Taking a deep inhale, and as you exhale, coming up onto your toes and then floating to the top of the mat. Inhale, flat back, looking forward. Exhale, forward fold. On the next breath, inhaling into chair pose, sitting back as far as you can, seeing if you can look at your toes over the tops of your knees, strengthening through the back and keeping those shoulders down away from the ears. Taking an inhale, and as you exhale, forward fold, straightening the knees. And then on the next inhale, standing tall, reaching toward the sky. Bringing hands to heart center on the exhale. On the next inhale, reaching toward the sky, taking a slight back bend, and then cactusing the arms out wide as you exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back, extending the spine and looking forward. Exhaling, forward fold. On the next breath, coming back into your chair pose, feeling the burn a little bit here as we really warm up the lower body, and then exhaling right back into a forward fold, coming into a flat back, looking forward, really finding this rhythm as you exhale, forward fold. And taking your vinyasa, planting the hands firmly on the mat and floating back into Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling into upward facing dog. And as you exhale, rolling over the toes into downward facing dog. Taking a deep inhale through the nose, and as you exhale, coming into three-legged dog, bringing the left foot to the center of the mat and traveling up the left leg with the right toes, extending into your second position through a développé. And then squaring the hips back to the mat, coming into this crisscross extension, bringing the right knee toward the midline, maybe even coming into a plie, a little bit of a bent knee with that left leg, as you find a rhythm here. Then coming back into three-legged dog with the foot extended high above the head, bending the right knee, opening the hips, feeling the stretch here through the back and the hips. And then on the next breath, straightening the right knee, coming back into a fully extended three-legged dog before you transition by bending the right knee, planting the right foot in between the hands and rising up into Warrior One. Reaching toward the sky, And as you exhale, we're shining the heart forward, cactusing the arms wide. Following the momentum of your breath here, inhaling, reaching tall once more, and exhaling at your own pace, shining the heart forward and cactusing the arms wide. Take a few breaths here. And then, on the next exhale, framing out the right foot once more, coming back into your three-legged dog through a développé, keeping the toes pointed. Following a fluid gesture here as you exhale into three-legged chaturanga. Inhaling, upward-facing dog. Exhale, downward-facing dog. And on the next breath, coming up on your toes and then floating to the top of the mat. Inhaling, flat back, looking forward. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, finding a chair pose. Finding a strong seat here, and then on your next exhale, forward fold. Inhaling, reaching tall toward the sky, and as you exhale, hands come to heart center, reconnecting. Inhaling, reaching toward the sky, and then exhaling, taking a deep swan dive forward. Nose to your shins or to your knees, and then inhale, looking forward, extending the spine. Exhaling, forward fold. Following your breath here, firmly planting your hands on the mat, and then floating back into Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhaling into upward facing dog, and then rolling over the toes into downward facing dog on the exhale. And as you build the heat in the body, we're bringing our awareness right back to the breath from wherever our mind may have wandered. Taking a deep inhale, and as you exhale, coming into three-legged dog on the left side, through a développé, drawing those left toes up the inside of the right leg and extending the left leg toward the sky in a second position with externally rotated hips. As you exhale, coming into a plie on the right leg, sweeping the left knee toward the midline in a crisscross, and then extending the leg out into an external rotation in second position, taking a nice full extension here. And then as you exhale, bringing the left knee in toward the chest this time, planting the left foot in between the hands and rising up on an inhale into Warrior One. Exhale, cactusing the arms out, shining the chest forward, following a circle here by reaching down and then to the front of you before inhaling, reaching toward the sky once more, cactusing the arms out wide on the exhale, and then sweeping the arms down into the front of you as you follow your breath. Feeling a flow of confidence here as you then exhale, framing out the left foot once more, planting the hands on the mat and then coming back into your three-legged dog, left foot toward the sky, feeling a full extension here, and then coming into three-legged chaturanga, floating with a controlled gesture toward the floor, inhaling into upward-facing dog, and as you exhale, rolling over the toes into downward-facing dog. Taking a breath here, then coming up on the toes and floating to the top of the mat. Inhale, flat back, extending the spine. Exhale, forward fold. On the next inhale, following your breath into a chair pose, sitting deeply, and then on the exhale, right back into a forward fold. On the next inhale, coming into a standing position, reaching tall. Exhaling, hands come to heart center, bringing yourself back to the stability of your breath as it guides you through these fast-paced movements. Grounding yourself here now, and then inhaling, taking a deep breath as you reach toward the sky. Exhaling, taking a deep dive forward. Inhaling, flat back, extending the spine. Exhaling, forward fold. Taking the opportunity to bring your awareness right back to the breath as you inhale, taking another flat back, extending the spine, waving forward. And as you exhale, taking a deep forward fold, resetting yourself. On the next breath, planting the hands firmly on the mat and then floating back into chaturanga. Inhaling, coming up into upward facing dog. As you exhale, rolling over the toes into downward facing dog. And as we continue our journey toward a chin stand, we're first coming into our preparation for Gandha Barundasana. First, by tucking the elbows firmly into the ribs, coming up onto the balls of the feet, and very slowly lowering the chest and the chin toward the floor. This is a wonderful variation of puppy pose that will help you build the integrity in your joints and the body control that you need to further your progress with a chin stand. Or if you'd like to, you can further this variation by bringing the right leg toward the sky, remembering to hug the elbows firmly into your ribs as you tap the floor behind you with the toes, raising the leg toward the sky once more, and then coming into a downward facing dog, transitioning through a plank on the exhale. And if you don't quite feel ready for a chin stand yet, then I invite you to come back into the variation of puppy pose that we were just in, practicing raising the right leg and then bringing it down toward the floor again. Or if you feel ready for the full expression of Gandha Barundasana, we're coming into our chin stand by first taking a deep inhale, oxygenating the blood here, then bringing the right leg into a three-legged dog once more, before we find our position with our chin on the floor, elevating the body off of the floor with the strength of the abdominals, the hips, and the back, firmly tucking the elbows into the ribs and establishing a strong platform before you balance the feet over the hips in a straight line. Checking in here with your relationship with gravity, reminding yourself that just because you use your chin as a point of balance does not mean that you dump weight into the neck or the chin. You are focusing on using all of the adjacent core muscles to elevate your body and lift you off of the ground. And if you have the latitude to safely do your pincha, you're welcome to begin bringing your toes closer to the crown of your head, making sure that the bend comes mostly into the upper portion of the back. On the next breath, releasing the feet to the floor and in a controlled, deliberate gesture, coming back into downward facing dog through a plank. Coming back to homeostasis, slowing yourself down. Grounding yourself with your breath here, and then finding a yogi squat malasana, bringing the heels a little bit wider than hip width distance apart and sinking the hips down, bringing the hands to heart center, elbows come to the insides of the knees, pressing firmly against the inside of the legs as you bring the shoulders down away from the ears. Taking a deep, solid breath here, finding your center and reestablishing your relationship with gravity. And then at your own pace, finding your way back into downward facing dog. On the next breath, coming into a three-legged dog once more, straightening the right leg toward the sky through your développé into second position. Then squaring the hips toward the mat once more, this time coming into an eagle pose, wrapping the right leg around the left, shifting the weight onto the right arm, sweeping the left arm around the body, and then following the momentum of the arm as you replace the hand on the floor and unwrap the right leg, unfurling it toward the sky in a three-legged dog, then squaring the hips back toward the mat, bringing the right knee in toward the chest, and on an inhale coming up into Warrior One. As you exhale, opening the hands into Warrior Two, bringing the palms of the hands to face toward the sky, opening the chest and shining the heart forward. Bringing your awareness right back to your breath. On the next breath, reaching toward the right, letting the hips shift toward the left, and sweeping the left arm high, coming into a triangle pose. Placing the right hand on the outside of the right foot. And if you'd like to, you can come into a bound triangle here, reaching through the legs with the right arm and finding the right hand with the left as you clasp both hands behind the back. Keeping that left shoulder down away from the ear and opened. And then releasing your bound triangle, reaching the left hand toward the sky once more. On the next breath, replacing the left hand on the floor and extending the right leg back into a three-legged dog, sequentially through your développé. and then exhaling, slow, controlled, three-legged chaturanga, inhaling into upward facing dog without letting the thighs touch the floor as much as you can help it, exhaling, downward facing dog. And we're moving onto the left side, coming into our puppy variation, coming up onto the balls of the feet, and then lowering the chin close to the floor. And you can stay here and work on raising and lowering the left leg while engaging all of the core muscles in your body, focusing on pressing the elbows firmly into the ribs, establishing where your platform will be for when you do have the ability to find your chin stand. Perhaps not letting your chin quite touch the floor, but letting it come very close. And if you're ready for Gandha Barundasana in its full expression, we're first coming through our developpe with the left leg into a three-legged dog. Bringing the hands closer to the center of the mat, taking a deep inhale, oxygenating the blood fully as we start to bring the chin closer to the floor, hugging the elbows firmly into the ribs and establishing a strong foundation, engaging the abdominals and the entire lower body as well as the back, not sinking into the neck or the chin, but keeping yourself safe with this muscle engagement. Choosing to either keep your feet over your hips or this time flowing right into your scorpion back bend if that's within your practice today. And when you're ready, releasing one leg at a time in a slow gesture toward the floor, coming through your upward facing dog and then into a downward facing dog through a plank. Taking a moment to establish your breath once more here. Coming into Malasana, a yogi squat, bringing the heels wider than hip width distance apart and sinking the hips down to the earth, bringing the elbows to the inside of the knees, hands come to heart center, shoulder blades wrapped around the back. Taking a deep inhale through the nose, grounding your energy back to the planet. Bringing the parasympathetic nervous system back online. And on the next breath, releasing, coming back into downward facing dog. Coming into a three-legged dog on the left side, bringing the right foot to the center of the mat, and on an inhale, traveling up the inside of the right leg with the left toes pointed, extending the left knee, pointing the left foot toward the sky, and then stretching the left knee in a full extension before you bend the left knee, coming into an eagle pose, wrapping the left leg around the right leg, extending the right arm in a full circle around you before you replace the right hand on the mat, coming back, flowing right into your three-legged dog as you unwind the leg, taking a full extension with the left leg, and then bending the left knee on the next breath in toward the chest, planting the left foot in between the hands, and rising up into Warrior One. As you exhale, opening right up into Warrior Two, remembering to point the palms of your hands toward the ceiling. Bringing the awareness right back to the breath from wherever the mind has wandered off with it. On the next breath, straightening the left knee, reaching out toward the left and finding a triangle pose. Right arm toward the sky. On the next breath, finding a bound triangle by reaching through the legs with the left hand, clasping left and right hand behind the back and opening that right shoulder wide, looking toward the sky as much as you can. And releasing left hand back to the floor, right hand toward the sky, bringing both hands to frame out the left foot and then extending back into your three-legged dog through a développé, straightening the left knee, coming into a full extension with the hips and the leg, pointing the toes, and then in a controlled and smooth movement, coming into a three-legged chaturanga, inhaling into upward facing dog, and exhaling, rolling over the toes into downward facing dog. Taking a deep inhale through the nose, looking forward, and then floating to the top of the mat. Inhaling. Flat back, extending the spine. finding that length and then exhaling, forward fold. On the next breath, finding chair pose, sitting deeply, perhaps floating the toes off of the floor as you sink into this pose. And on the next exhale, finding your nose to your knees in a forward fold. On the next breath, inhaling, reaching strongly above your head, standing tall. And exhaling, bringing hands to heart center, reconnecting. Inhaling, reaching tall once more, and as you exhale, taking a deep, dramatic swan dive forward. Nose to your knees or to your shins, and then inhale, extending the spine, looking forward. Exhaling, waving down into a forward fold. On the next breath, planting the hands firmly on the mat and floating back into chaturanga, inhaling right into upward facing dog. And as you exhale, following the rhythm of your breath, back into downward facing dog. Bringing the awareness right back to the breath. This time we're coming into our three-legged dog on the right side. A full extension here in second position, and then squaring the hips back to the mat, threading the right leg in between the left leg and the right arm, coming into Patita Tadasana, a star pose. Extending the left hand toward the sky, looking up and then replacing the left hand on the mat, coming right back into your three-legged dog, extending that right leg high toward the sky. Another deep inhale, then bringing the right knee in toward the chest, finding your eagle pose, right leg wraps around the left leg, shifting your weight onto the right hand, sweeping the left hand around the body, and then following the flow, replace the left hand, bringing the right leg high into three-legged dog once more, full extension, and then on the next breath, bringing the right knee in toward the chest, planting the foot between the hands and rising up into Warrior One. As you exhale, opening right up into Warrior Two, palms of the hands toward the sky, shining the heart forward. Another deep inhale, and as you exhale, reaching forward into triangle pose. Bringing the left hand toward the sky, right hand behind the right foot. Taking a deep breath in through the nose, and then coming into a bound angle, reaching through the legs with the right arm, clasping left and right hand behind the back, opening up that left shoulder, bringing the awareness right back to the sensation of the breath moving in and out through the nose, finding your center in the now moment. And on the next breath, replacing the right hand on the floor, reaching toward the sky with the left hand, looking up, and then framing out the right foot, coming back into your three-legged dog. Right foot extends toward the sky through a développé, finding a full extension here, squaring the hips back to the mat, coming into a three-legged chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog. Exhaling, downward facing dog. Deep inhale through the nose. Coming up on the toes, looking forward, and as you exhale, hopping to the top of the mat. Inhaling, flat back, looking forward. Exhaling, deeper forward fold than before. On the next breath, finding your chair pose. Finding the alignment, and then flowing right back into a forward fold on the exhale. Following the breath, inhaling, reaching tall toward the sky. Exhaling, bringing the hands to heart center. On the next breath, inhaling, reaching tall, and as you exhale, taking a deep dive forward. Inhaling, extending the spine, looking forward. Exhaling, forward fold. On the next breath, planting the hands firmly on the mat and floating back into Chaturanga Dandasana, lowering slowly toward the floor, and then inhaling in a fluid gesture into upward facing dog. Exhaling, rolling over the toes into downward facing dog. Bringing the awareness right back to the breath. On the next inhale, we're finding three-legged dog through a développé with the left foot, extending the left leg toward the sky in a full extension. And then bending the left knee in toward the chest, threading the left foot in between the left hand and the right foot, looking up with the right arm toward the sky, coming to the outside of the left foot, finding Patitanasana, then replacing the right hand on the floor and coming back into a three-legged dog. Left foot toward the sky through a développé, straightening the knee, and then on the next breath, bending the left knee in toward the chest once more, finding an eagle pose by wrapping the left leg around the right leg, extending the right arm in a circle around the body, maybe a couple of times. Finding your flow, following the breath, and then replacing the right hand on the floor and extending the left leg back into three-legged dog. This time, bending the left knee in toward the chest, planting the left foot on the floor, and finding Warrior One on the inhale. Following the exhale into Warrior Two. Palms of the hands face toward the sky, and on the next breath, reaching toward the left with the left hand and reaching up toward the sky with the right. Finding your triangle pose, bringing your awareness right back to the breath. And then replacing the hand, framing out the left foot and flowing right back into three-legged dog through a développé, bringing the left foot toward the sky. On the next breath, taking a slow, controlled three-legged chaturanga, floating towards the floor, and on an inhale, coming into upward-facing dog, shining the heart forward. On your exhale, sitting the hips back into an easy seated child's pose, bringing the forehead to the floor. Bringing yourself back to the stability of the planet and focusing your energy on the now moment. On your next breath, rounding the spine, coming back into a downward-facing dog as you bring the hips toward the sky. Coming into a three-legged développé, extending the right leg toward the sky, and this time, bringing the right knee in toward the chest and finding your way into a pigeon pose on the right side. Right knee comes to the right wrist, right ankle comes to the left wrist. Folding forward over the right leg, finding your forehead as close to the floor as you can, perhaps using a block here if needed. Fully surrendering to the now moment and seeing what comes up for you, bringing your awareness right back to the intimate relationship you have with your breath. On the next breath, coming back to a seated position, bringing the crown of the head toward the ceiling, and then taking a twist to the right, perhaps connecting the right hand with the left leg. Then coming back to center and floating the left foot off the floor, bringing a nice deep stretch to that left quadricep, taking the time here to be good to your knee and your left quadricep. And then finding a mermaid pose, bringing the right hand toward the sky and then connecting left and right hand. Left toes find the inside of the left elbow, and you are welcome to stay here in a mermaid pose. This is an excellent way to open the shoulders and the hips. Or if you're looking for a little more of a challenge today, and this is within your practice, then you're welcome to begin flipping your grip, bringing the chest to face toward the top of the mat while holding the left foot with one or both hands, always emphasizing the bend in the upper portion of the spine. Releasing your back bend, releasing the hands from the foot, and then releasing the foot slowly to the floor in a controlled gesture, engaging the left quadricep. And when you're ready, straightening out the right leg to come into your splits on the right side, squaring the shoulders toward the top of the mat, and bringing the top of the left knee toward the floor. If you're ready for this gesture, you can bring the left foot to connect with the inside of the left elbow, continuing to lengthen the left quadricep. And then releasing the left leg, continuing to keep the right toes pointed. Taking an inhale, and as you exhale, folding forward over the right knee, reaching toward the right foot. And releasing the forward fold, sitting tall, and we're taking the journey here by rotating into a straddle split in the middle. Only going as far as you have the latitude to at this point, being very good to the groin and the hips, making sure that you slowly find your splits, reaching forward, bringing the chest and the belly a little closer to the floor, and then shifting over to the left side, squaring the shoulders to the top of the mat, sitting tall, taking a deep breath in, oxygenating the blood, giving yourself a little more space between each vertebrae, and then folding forward, keeping the left toes pointed. Inhaling, sitting tall once more, and then bringing the right foot to connect with the right hand, giving that right quadricep a deeper stretch once more. Releasing the right foot, coming into a pigeon pose on the left side, bringing the left knee to the left wrist and the left ankle to the right wrist. Perhaps taking a twist, turning toward the left and connecting the left hand with the right leg. Then releasing back to center, taking a slight back bend, and as you exhale, folding forward over the left leg, sinking deeply into the floor, continuing to bring the awareness right back to the now moment and to the simple sensation of the breath traveling in and out through the nose. Watch the breath as it fills up the belly, engaging your parasympathetic nervous system. And as you exhale, releasing anything that no longer serves you that you accidentally began to carry. On the next breath, coming back to a seated pose, lengthening the crown toward the ceiling, and then floating the right foot off the floor, stretching out the right quadricep, and being good to that right knee. Then coming into a mermaid pose, lifting the left arm toward the sky and then clasping left and right hands together. Right foot comes to the inside of the right elbow. Finding a little bit more of a back bend here. And staying here if this feels comfortable for you. Or if you'd like to, you can rotate your shoulders, flipping your grip so that you're holding your right foot while facing the chest forward. Perhaps holding the foot with one hand or both hands, feeling the difference in the stretch that you experience with each different variation, and finding the variation that really suits your body at this time. Being compassionate with yourself wherever you're at, and then slowly releasing the left foot to come into your left splits once more. Shifting into a straddle split, folding forward just slightly, and then making the journey all the way back to the right side before releasing the left leg, bringing both feet out in front of you. Reaching toward the sky, inhaling, and as you exhale, forward fold, bringing the nose to the knees or to the shins, keeping the toes pointed. And then flexing the feet, feeling a different stretch in the back of the legs. Really releasing the lower back here. And then at your own pace, finding your way onto your back, bringing your knees into your chest, and giving yourself a little lower back massage here. Then coming into your plow pose, bringing the feet behind the head and lengthening the back of the neck, bringing the chin into the chest and pressing the palms of the hands into the floor. On the next breath, releasing the feet and coming into a shoulder stand, supporting the lower back with the hands and bringing the elbows underneath you. Seeing if you can bring the feet directly over the hips. Slowly bicycling the feet a couple of times, and then pointing the toes back toward the sky. Slowly releasing the feet back behind you. And then gently bringing the hips back to the floor. This time coming into happy baby. And then releasing happy baby, finding Baddha Konasana, reclined butterfly, bringing one hand to the belly, the other hand to your heart, closing the eyes and checking in with yourself once more, finding your relationship once again with the now moment through the portal of your breath. Coming into any last stretch that your body may need at this point. And then at your own pace, finding your way into Shavasana, feet stretched out in front of you, palms of the hands facing toward the sky, eyes closed, feeling the muscles in your body, completely unhugging the bones and melting into the earth beneath you, feeling the earth rising up, stabilizing beneath you, holding you in complete and total safety. As we integrate the work we have done on the physical plane of reality, begin deepening your awareness of your breath. Begin watching the natural rhythm of the breath without trying to control it. Watch the breath very, very closely as it travels in through the nose, and become even more intimately aware of your breath as it continues, filling up the belly, and watch it as it suspends at the top. Observe as you exhale, releasing any stagnant energy from your system that no longer serves you. Notice the breath as it transfers new, fresh oxygen into your cells. As you exhale, sense the release of waves of residual, expired energy, energy you no longer need that you accidentally began to carry with you. As you bring your awareness now to the right hand thumb, we begin filling up the right fingertips with a deep sensation of serenity. This serenity has the flavor of a quiet, bubbling joy. It is the essence of a peaceful smile, and it is the color of a glowing sunrise. Feel the color of this sunrise, the red, the orange, the yellow and the pink, as it blends into the night sky. See the indigo above you as the sunrise begins to sweep up the right arm. filling up the fingertips, the right wrist, and now the right elbow, as the serenity of this sunrise fills your entire right arm. This bubbling joy fills the entire right side of your body as it travels down to the hip, traveling down to the right knee, across the right shin, and now the colors of this glowing sunrise fill the entire right foot all the way down to each toe tip. Sense the essence of this serene smile, the flavor of this glowing sunrise as it now travels from the left fingertips up to the left wrist. Sense the glowing radiance of this sunrise as it travels up to your left elbow. This energy now travels to the left shoulder, and it travels down the entire left side of the body, saturating the left hip, the left knee, the left shin, and now this glowing sunrise fills up the left ankle, the left foot, and each toe feels the sensation of a sunrise, the bubbling sensation of serenity, filling you with relief, saturating the left foot entirely. This glowing sunrise with its pinks, purples, its glowing peachy oranges washes now across your body from the bottoms of your feet all the way up both legs to the solar plexus. Feel it sweeping now across your chest to your heart, lifting from your heart any of the burdens that you accidentally began to carry with you. Feel the sensation, the essence of this smile filling your entire body, up your neck. Feel the sunrise radiating across your face. Feel this clean, beautiful energy saturating your head. Feel it saturating the skin on your face. Feeling this glowing sensation touching your lips, your teeth, your tongue, the roof of your mouth, the back of your throat. Feel it purifying and resetting your entire system as it touches your nose, now sweeping up to your eyes. Feel the peaceful sensation of this quiet sunrise as it gently relaxes your entire face, releasing all of the muscles in your scalp as you settle into this nourishing sense of peace. With each breath, you begin to glow more and more deeply. You begin radiating a warm light just like the sunrise that fills your entire body. Feel the sunrise, the sensation of peace and joy, the smile that you can feel in your bones, radiating all around you in a wider and wider circle, opening your bandwidth of peace and unconditional kindness to expand around you, affecting everyone who crosses your path in a positive way. And as you travel back to the surface level of physical reality, begin slowly bringing some life to the fingers and the toes at your own pace, rolling over to the left side, coming into the fetal position, and then pushing into the floor with the right hand, slowly coming to a seated position with the eyes closed still. And always remember how much I genuinely appreciate your presence on this planet Earth. Thank you for existing. Namaste. And if you're looking for a similar challenge, I invite you to try this flow next.